to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about runner-up books to my favorite books of the year. So these are books that did not make my top 5 list, but they would have made my top 10 list. So they are books that I loved so much and that it was hard for me not to put on my top 5 list, but that I definitely want to talk about in their own video because I think that these books are all fantastic, amazing, and I would recommend them to anyone. So we're going to jump right in and we're going to get started. And the first book that we're going to talk about, these ones are in no particular order. My last video, the one that I did of my top 5 books, were in order. These ones are not in any particular order, okay? So first we're going to talk about Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. And this book is basically, I love a historical fiction, and especially like a historical fiction thriller. I love that. And something that I've noticed about myself is that I seem to love books that are set, if you guys can hear my dog walking around, sorry, hear her nails clicking. But I love books that are set in like creepy little towns, like that are set, you know, like in the 1800s or the early 1900s, where it's very like religious tones and these people are like kind of trapped and secluded and they're just kind of like under the influence of, you know, white male like bureaucracy basically. And I love settings like that, and then something happens, you know, usually something like evil in nature happens and it kind of like causes a chain of events to kind of shake things up. I notice that that is one of my favorite tropes and I absolutely love that. And that's kind of what this book is. So we basically follow our main character who is living in this sort of situation, and strange things start to happen. Basically, she is starting to see people kind of on the edge of this forest. Of course, there's always like a forest surrounding these towns, right? That you're not supposed to go into or that it's dangerous to go into. And weird things start to happen in the town. And basically, they head into a really harsh winter. And what has led up to this winter is that basically crops have been like burned down and like horrible things have happened to make this village basically almost starved to death. So most of the people have enough just to get through the winter, barely. Some of them are starving. They're starting to turn against each other and weird things are starting to happen in this village. Like people are starting to notice different odd things that are unexplainable happening. And without giving it away, of course, it's always such a struggle for me to give a good synopsis of these books without giving away what happens. But without giving it away, basically, there is an evil presence that has come to kind of shake up the town. We'll just say that. I really enjoyed it. I listened to it on audiobook and I just flew through it. I didn't want to put it down. And it was one that I just recently read. I read it like a couple of weeks ago and it still has stuck with me in my mind. And I just really, really am happy that I read it, and it was really well done. Highly recommend it. So next is Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Albert, and this is a witchy read that I read this fall, and it just came out this fall as well. And this is, I have read everything by Melissa Albert, and this is my favorite book of hers so far. I really, really enjoyed it. And we basically follow 2 timelines in this book, a mother and a daughter. We follow the daughter in the current timeline and the mother when she was her daughter's age. And we see some things that have happened that have led into the situation that they're at today. So basically in today's time, our main character, I think her name is Ivy, close. Our main character is Ivy, and her mother ends up going missing. Now, she is not close with her mother by any means, and she has some memory lapses that she's starting to figure out and starting to realize something weird has happened, in that she has like a major memory lapse, and that it might be her mother's fault. And in the meantime, we follow her mother while she is Ivy's age, as she is starting to get into witchcraft, and she's just kind of starting to dabble in this a little bit. And it's she and her best friend that are starting to dabble in this together when they meet this girl who is a lot farther along into her witchcraft journey than they are, and she kind of apprentices them in a way, and she kind of leads them down a negative path, and they start doing some dark magic which really affects them and is basically the cause of what is going on in Ivy's life today. So I really enjoyed it. I love witchy stories, and I love it being about, you know, womanhood and coming together and saving each other as women. I love that, and that is usually a huge theme in witchy reads, and that is why I love them so much. Women standing up for women. I really love that. So next is a cozy mystery series that I have talked about before, and I would have talked about it in one of my videos where I talked about the best cozy mystery series. And this one is Miss Frost Solves a Cold Case. So this isn't necessarily just this particular book. It is like the entire series. I'm just kind of encompassing the entire series in, in talking about this. But throughout this cozy mystery series, we follow this main character who is the niece of Santa Claus and the daughter of Jack Frost. And she moves to a town where it is Halloween all the time. And it's just kind of like, it's almost kind of reminds me of like Salem, Massachusetts, you know, where it's like witchiness all year round. But this is a town that celebrates Halloween all the time. And this is where magical characters can be and can live as themselves in the world without any repercussions. So things like vampires and werewolves and all these sort of things actually do exist in the world, and they can live in this town freely because people just think that they're dressing up for Halloween because it's Halloween town like all the time. Okay, so so we have this elf who is she's an elf and she is the daughter of Jack Frost, and she comes to work at this toy store, Santa's workshop, that is here in this Halloween town. And strange things start to happen. She has noticed a couple of the employees start to go missing. And she kind of works her way through that mystery to find out what is happening to these employees that are going missing at this Santa's workshop. And while she's there, she meets a couple of really good friends. She meets some love interests, and she ends up deciding that she's going to stay. After she solves this mystery, she decides to stay and not go back to the North Pole, and she wants to just like live out her life here in this Halloween town. And we follow her adventures in the next several books. And in each book, it's a new mystery. And of course, you know, it has all the cozy mystery vibes that you need in a cozy mystery. But it has the really fun element of, you know, combining Santa and elves and Halloween and everything. It just combines all the holidays into one, and I just really, really enjoyed it. It was a really fun take on a cozy mystery. So the next book that we're going to talk about is The Lost Apothecary, and that is by Sarah Penner. And this one, oh, this one was so good, you guys. It was really hard for me not to put this one on my best list, and it kind of almost gave me like, well, no, I guess it wasn't really anything. I was gonna say it gave me Addie LaRue vibes, but it didn't really. But it just kind of gave me like, it kind of made me feel the same sort of things that I felt when reading Addie LaRue, if that makes sense. So basically, once again, we follow along two timelines, and we are following along back in, I think it was the 1700s or the 1800s, in this, not necessarily a witch, but she was more of a person who would prescribe natural medicines for women only. So this shop was for women only. It was a secret shop, okay? So people didn't really know where it was, and you could go there if you were a woman and you needed help that you couldn't get, you know, in the outside world, because this is a long time ago. And so it was an apothecary. And but there's kind of a mystery that happens, and we're following the timeline in present day, where this person is stumbling upon this lost apothecary that was boarded up and that no one has seen for hundreds of years, right? This reporter happens to stumble upon this and come across this discovery and unravel this mystery of what had happened to this woman back, you know, hundreds of years ago. And basically this woman would prescribe medications or poisons that would kill women's husbands. So if you had an abusive husband that was beating you up, you could go to this apothecary and get something to take care of him. And so of course she ends up getting found out for this, and stuff happens, and then we're following the second timeline where this mystery is being uncovered and all of these atrocities are being uncovered. Sorry, you guys, I'm in like really weird lighting. I have my front door is like right there, and it's like coming at me. I tried to move forward, but anyways, you don't care. Okay, so the last books that we're going to talk about is another cozy mystery series, and that is a haunted library mystery. The first book is Death Overdue by Alison Brooke, and once again, it's just the whole mystery series together that I'm talking about, not necessarily just that specific book, but it's a haunted library mystery. And this is about basically a librarian. She starts out as a temporary librarian, and she's just like reshelving books, stuff like that. And then she ends up getting a promotion at her library to being like the events coordinator there. And so she gets to coordinate all the events of the library. And as she's there, she starts to stumble upon in every book, of course, it's a different murder that she ends up solving. She has some help with from a library ghost who resides in the library, who is unfortunately a murdered librarian from years ago, and she can see this ghost, and this ghost kind of helps her in solving these murders. And it gives such cozy vibes, you guys. I love this series so much. It's still ongoing right now, and so there's still new books being released, but I just enjoy it so much. Like just the whole vibe, even like with the way that it talks about she has this little cabin in the woods, and that's like where she lives, and then just her job being like a librarian, and it gives you such cozy vibes, and you just want to like jump into that story and just live that life with her for real, even though she's solving murders and in danger most of the time. It has a lot of descriptions of delicious food, and you just like want to go there and eat at a restaurant with her, and it just gives you all the cozy vibes. All right, you guys, so that concludes my list of 5 books that I wish I could have added on to my top 5 books of the year. Definitely made my top 10 books of the year, and I really enjoyed those, so I definitely recommend any of those for you guys to pick up. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of them and what your thoughts on them were. And I will see you tomorrow for another episode of Happy Holidays, where I'm uploading a new video every single day up until Christmas Day. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.